Okay, wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting for the Commission on Out-of-School Time Grants and Youth Outcomes. We appreciate you joining us. We have a lot of exciting things on the agenda today. We also have a couple of public members that have registered to speak to us. So we're very excited to hear that. Thank you again. If there are any additional public members who would like to speak, please feel free to register to speak to the commissioners by raising your hands or using the chat box and asking the panelists to speak. Okay. The Commission on Out-of-School Time Grants and Youth Outcomes has reached its quorum and is called to order at 6:12 p.m. Now, once again, is a reminder for the technology, when it is time for public commentary, individuals can raise your hand if you would like to speak or use the chat box to inform us that you would like to speak. The OST team will unmute and notify each person when you can speak. If a commissioner is unmuted for conversation, please remember to put yourselves on mute when not speaking so that we can reduce background noise. Please remember as well, when making or seconding a motion, to identify yourself. Of course, we know and love your faces, but the main reason is for the meeting minutes so that we can have everything documented. And as usual for our last few years of calls, they're virtual. All votes will be taken via roll call vote so that, once again, we can have that documented. Now, again, if anyone wishes to speak to the commission, please remember to do so by using the chat box and stating that you would like to speak. Any member of the OST team will be able to confirm. And currently we have 2 public speakers that have registered in advance to speak. Thank you again for coming to join us. We're really excited to hear what you have to say. Let's see. Okay, great. So it looks like our first registered speaker is from Children's Legacy Theater, and that is Jackie Carter. So whenever you're ready, the floor is yours. Thank you again for joining us.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Yes, hello. Welcome.
Good. How much time do I have to speak?
I believe about, 3 minutes.
Okay, great. So I'm Jackie Carter with Children's Legacy Theater, and I'd like to start off by telling you what we have been experiencing the last few months. So the last few months, I have personally broken up a couple of gang fights and have recruited the young people, the victims of the gang fights, to work with Children's Legacy Theater. I've also gone and attended the 2 schools that the kids attended. These are all middle school kids, attended and recruited or developed a project for the children who were beating up the other kids to join our program. So tonight I am asking the Learn 24 office to please add the $5 million that was recently approved to the $17 million the L24 OST budget, and do not create another program project which will divert funds from organizations serving these populations that I've described, especially small nonprofits in Ward 7 and 8. The MADC, the My After School DC committees, pool of human resources folks already exist and is in place waiting for partnership, and it exists within the OST commission. Elementary schools most in need are established through the needs assessment, Annie B. Casey Foundation, and DC Action Kids Count, which is that elementary, middle school, and high school students that are most in need reside in Ward 7 and 8. I don't believe a new title, MADC, is needed to affirm facts known for years. Maybe a meeting with small nonprofits in Ward 7, 8 would shed better light on the specific needs of the organizations who already serve the population, meaning those elementary schools. With the additional 5 million, L24ST can fund organizations that it says they don't have enough money to fund and fund additional small nonprofits who are already serving challenged elementary schools. We need to ensure funding to grassroots and small nonprofits who are already doing this work, not seek additional systemic racist structures that continue to block and prevent small nonprofits access to funding, especially in Ward 7 and 8, which hurts the community, especially its children. New L24 processes, uninformed changes are perfectly aligned with classic elements of structural racism. The first tenet is perfectionism. Little appreciation expressed among people for those who do the work. Appreciation expressed for those who get most of the credit anyway. A sense of urgency is the second tenet. Continued sense of urgency that makes it difficult to take time to be inclusive. Encourage democratic or thoughtful decision making to think long term and consider consequences. The third tenet, defensiveness. I see I'm running out of time. The defensiveness of power creates an oppressive culture. Quantity over quality. All resources are directed towards producing measurable goals. Things that can be measured are valued over things that cannot. Ability to constructively deal with conflict, for example. Worship of the written word. Those with strong documentation and written skills are more highly valued. Paternalism. Those with power think they can make decisions for and in the interest of those without power, especially without their input. Power hoarding. Power seen as limited. Only as much, only so much to go around is what we've been experiencing. I have told you my story at the top about the children that we serve. Just last Sunday, one of my students, we lost, her brother was murdered, 17 years old, and her cousin was murdered, 15 years old. We could have created seats for those kids if we could get the funding, if we could reduce the current grant application process, which is cumbersome, designed to frustrate, exhaust, and deter applicants, especially small nonprofits. Several professional grant writers have confirmed that the L24 grant application currently in place is designed especially for professional grant writers. No small nonprofit can get through this application alone. That's a quote. The grant application is in fact has in fact doubled down on the very biases it is created to dismantle, which is the office is created to dismantle, which is systemic racism. So I asked the L24 to partner with OST nonprofits, especially with small nonprofits, as we ask the question to you. How do you, the L24 office team, define structural racism, and what are you really doing to dismantle it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate you speaking. Definitely eye-opening. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments for the speaker?
Yeah, good evening, Commissioner Hill. Thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Carter. Appreciate the work that you're doing. You said a lot in 3 minutes, and we certainly feel your sentiment. So many different responses to what you just shared. So in terms of smaller nonprofits, how are you going to survive when these larger organizations seem to come in and do not have authentic relationships with the community, and they are data driven and really don't have the heart of the community like organizations such as you mentioned that you have and organizations that you're partnering with. So what are you going to do? I guess that's my question. How are you going to survive, and what approaches are you thinking about? And we hear your testimony with requests to shifting some of those funds in appropriate areas, but I just, what are you going to do? How are you going to survive? Ms. Carter there?
My mic was muted. I'm sorry. So I think the question is really not what is or how is the small nonprofit going to survive. The question really is what are the children going to do? Because our children, our Black children, especially the boys, they are dying. They are being murdered. They're killing each other. So the question is really is what is L24 going to do to make sure that the money is going to these grassroots small nonprofits so that we can create more seats for these children, because they are dying while the L24 office is creating more systemic racist structures that block these small nonprofits from applying for these funds, and in fact diverting funds to My After School DC. My After School DC, they're searching for information that already exists. They're searching for people to fund that are already there on the ground doing the work. So I think it's less what are we going to do as a small nonprofit to survive, and the question really is how are we going to help these children? How are we going to save these children? All this brain power, all this money, how are we going to help these children? They are dying. I am watching them die. I just had a young man come out of police custody because they're on the basketball court playing. Guy picks up a beanie or hat or something that belongs to him. The kids leave, come back with a gun and try to shoot him. His cousin stands in front of him and catches the bullet. His cousin is dead. 14 years old. He's dead. If small nonprofits at the grassroots level could remove the call for an audit, allow these organizations, other government district government entities will fund these organizations, will give them money without all of these systemic structures, without this complicated grant application. And if L24, whose mission it is to dismantle these structural racism, instead of doubling down, open it up to these small nonprofits. I was just at a meeting yesterday with 13 grassroots nonprofits who are doing the hard work, working with this population of children that these larger nonprofits are not going to serve. They don't reach deep down in the belly of the beast. And in fact, some of them, I love all my nonprofits, so I don't want to, be calling people out, but they cherry pick a little bit. These kids that I'm talking about, ankle monitored, weed smoking, committing petty crimes. They come into a program like mine or some of the other small nonprofits that I know about that are doing great work, and they do well there. But we need to create more seats for them. And we need the L24 office to partner with us on this, not see us as these little Black organizations who deserve peanuts. Thank you.
I also
We can
have a
do more
comment.
if we have more.
I have a follow-up, if I may.
Yeah,
Sorry,
if you don't
Susanna,
mind,
go ahead.
if you don't mind, I would rather like get more people other people who have commented. And the Kendall's hand was raised for a bit of time, and also in the interest of time as well.
Well, I would like to
So,
respectfully have the questions asked to me because I'd really like to get this off my chest, if you don't mind. Thank you.
No, the question is still going to be answered, but I'm saying give other people an opportunity to share their thoughts. So Kendall, can you please go, and then we can go back to Commissioner Hill.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Thank you to the professional staff here at OST, especially my grant manager, Mark, and Kevin, and Alex, and Shanna as well. I had a technical snafu, and thank you for helping me fix that. Yeah, so a lot of us here who are east of the river, who serve very vulnerable populations, we co-sign with Jackie because we've been here in and out through different administrations, different eras. A lot of us have worked since the Anthony Williams administration. So like we've been here consistently. So, we pretty much know our community, we know our population, we know how to provide the services that is culturally relevant, that is impactful to produce positive youth workforce outcomes, especially to alienated, disconnected youth. And especially as we refocus the conversation of public safety away from a punitive effort and towards one of empathy and hope, and one of positive youth outcomes that will include workforce development and community healing as well. So I just wanted to say those comments, and I know that we will continue to be here and ready with a hand open and an olive branch so that we can all share in this common goal of helping our community. So I just want to say that and say that, everything Jackie is saying, we definitely agree with. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Kendall. Back to you, Commissioner Hill.
Thank you so much. Ms. Jackie, certainly share your sentiments. The actual double homicide that took place earlier this week happened directly in front of my office, and I am also directly connected to the decedents as well as their parents and other family members. So I'm not a commissioner that's sitting somewhere that does not feel your pain and feel some of the pain that's taking place in the community. But I did want to ask a follow-up question with regard to, you mentioned the application, the current application that is out now with the OST office. This is kind of maybe a hard question, but do you think that application has been as cumbersome and as difficult to fulfill it and to complete that application? Do you think that was because you mentioned a lot of small nonprofits are having a difficult time completing it, and you said also in your public comment that even grant writers are concur that it is very strategic in terms of completing. Do you think that difficulty in completing an application is intentional, that it would weed out smaller nonprofits so that they wouldn't have an opportunity to compete?
That's a really good question, and I've been pondering that myself. Is this intentional? And the only thing that what I came up with at the very personal level is that yes, it is intentional, and it is an application that is favoring larger nonprofits. We just had a hearing before the DC Council where L24 leadership actually called out 3 large nonprofits as being the role model for nonprofits. And I thought that was very unfair. I thought it was part of the systemic structural racism to highlight 3 nonprofits that are $1 million budgets that don't reach down and serve these populations of children that are dying. And when you look at, as the professional grant writers said to us, when you look at the volume of questions and the quantitative over qualitative information that is asked for, small nonprofits just on paper are not equipped to really handle those questions. And it's cumbersome, it is frustrating, in addition to the dismantling of the system, grant writing submission system that was in place without any consultation or asking anybody, just rearranging everything, serving more children, less money. I think the L24 office is open to, they did listen at some level, they did increase the amount of funding for small nonprofits from $25,000 to $40,000 and $80,000 over the year, but you still can't get the money if you don't have an audit. And most small nonprofits don't have an audit, can't afford an audit, so they're blocked out. And then this lengthy grant application, it's just exhausting. And it, like I said, we just met with 13 small nonprofits in Ward 7 and Ward 8. They will not be applying because one, they can't. It's too cumbersome for them. So I do think it is intentional to weed out small nonprofits, but it's specifically Black small nonprofits. And that is all part of what the L24 office is supposed to dismantle, is that structural bias. And instead of dismantling that structural bias, it seems to appear to have doubled down on it. So, and then that $5 million that we so, deliberately joined with the DC Action Coalition to get that $5 million to OST office, to take that $5 million and say, we're going to put it over here out of the reach of not only the small nonprofits, but other nonprofits, but particularly the small nonprofits who could use that money to serve down at the grassroots levels where the babies are dying. They're being murdered. They're killing each other. And we've got to do something about it. We can't play, oh, what we're going to do is make this quote unquote a competitive process. Competitive for who? We small nonprofits don't want to compete with each other. We want to partner with each other, and most of them do. I partner with a lot of my small nonprofits.
Jackie, thank you so
So-
much for your commentary. Thank you for your commentary.
I don't know if I was finished, but you're welcome.
Thank you. In the interest of time, and we have about 3 other people who want to. We have about 3 other individuals who do want to share their testimonies. So we want to be respectful of the time and also the other people who have their thoughts to share. Any other last commentary before we move on to the other attendees who would like to testify? Whether from commissioners or Jackie, before we move on.
I'll just make it brief.
I'm sorry, I just have a comment, Dr. Lowe.
So we have about 3 other people right now whose hands are raised. Is this applicable to what Jackie shared? Commissioner Crump? Was it you, Commissioner Crump, that said you have a comment?
Yeah, it sounded like.
Yes, I have a comment.
Is it applicable to what Jackie was sharing?
A comment applicable to. It's applicable to. I have a comment to both of the commenters, but I can wait until everybody is commenting. I just want to give you a heads up that I did want to.
Yeah, I see your hand. I can see your hand. Carl? Scott?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Again, these type of meetings are essential to all programs, just so that we can all have an opportunity to just testify and talk about the things that are going on within our programs. I'm the program director for Best Kids Mentoring Program. We're a mentoring program for youth that are in foster care, and we also serve youth that are at risk in the DC schools. Similar to Ms. Jackie, we've experienced a few kids deal with some very traumatic things over the time being, but through, proper mentors, we've been able to really provide them with that one trusted adult. We sometimes receive calls at 11 p.m. late at night when my staff are not working, and they're still the first people at sites in those moments to just try to step up for the kids. But I am here to testify on behalf of the benefits that we've gained from being able to partner up with Learn 24 through the mentoring program and grant and the year-round grant. We've received it for the last year, and we've been able to reach probably like 83 to 90 kids this last few months, and we're very fortunate to have done that. We've been able to take kids that live in Ward 7 and 8 to things that they didn't even know existed within the area. And so through this, through the funding, we've been able to, we would like to continue to expand these kids' horizons through this app, through the opportunities that's provided. And we just want to continue to put on events for our kids so that we transport them there, provide them with some food while they're there, and giving them opportunities and experiences that they wouldn't have got if they weren't a part of our program. And so again, I just wanted to say thank you for that. And Dr. I look forward to meeting you on July 8th. So that's it.
Thank you, Carl. Walter, my apologies. Please go ahead. Commissioner Peacock.
Oh, I was just saying thank you very much for your commentary. We really appreciate you joining us to speak and share that information with us. It does look like we have a couple folks with their hands raised, so want to get through you all. Once again, as Dr. Lowe had mentioned, we have a very packed agenda today, so we do appreciate and encourage discussion, but just keep in mind we do have a lot of things to get through as well, so thank you. So yeah, who is next to speak? I see a couple hands raised.
Sharner and then Amber.
Okay.
Commissioner Crump, sorry, and then Amber.
Amber could go.
Thank you, Commissioner Crump. Hi, everybody. I am Amber Panaccia. I am the Deputy Director at the Musicianship, which provides out-of-school time music and youth development programming for youth who primarily live east of the river, though our locations are in Ward 7, 7, 8, and 5. I am hoping just to share a little bit today regarding the application process that was spoken about earlier, but specifically how the new requirements have affected some of our family members, and specifically how I feel as though there may have been a lack of communication between DC agencies, or communications that maybe we are not aware of that DC agencies are having. I did ask some parents to join this call today, but seeing as it is between the hours of 6 and 7:30, they are caring for their children during this time. So I wanted to speak a little bit on their behalf first about our programming that we do with the Department of Parks and Recreation, which is vital out of school time programming and activities that young people and their parents are able to participate with in for free through the district. By providing these opportunities for free through the district and at no charge to the Department of Parks and Recreation, young people throughout the district were able, with our arts programming, along with many of those who also provide arts programming, to receive things they were not receiving during the school day at their public schools due to some lack of funding that the schools have right now to staff those positions. Because of the increased requirements of time and the lack of space available at the Department of Parks and Recreation, it is now virtually impossible for these programs to be hosted at these 6-hour minimums that are required in order to maintain that programming at Department of Parks and Rec. So that is a concern, and as a result, there's going to be a significant change to the way we program with that government agency. I know it's not your responsibility to handle their budget, but something that I think all government agencies need to have a better hand in communicating with each other about how changes to their internal policies will affect organizations at large. And I know this is a second thing, and that this was just sent to us at 2 o'clock today, but I also would appreciate if you guys could address the comment in the letter you sent to us regarding the dosage transition. One of the things that you shared was that you did not want to ask the partners to meet the best practice of providing youth 12 to 15 hours of OST services per week. Instead, you decided to increase the minimum dosage requirements gradually to support a measured transition. My question for you is the intent that in future years, maybe even next year, we will be expected to provide 12 to 15 hours per week, thus doubling the minimum that was required for this year's application?
I can answer that quickly and very directly. This year, FY24 will be a year of learning. And so I cannot say for sure that it will be doubled. Given the feedback we've gotten so far, we will have to be very deliberate, careful, and also collaborative with our nonprofits and our partners to make sure that whatever the dosage is, whether it is six or 7 or 8, that it is taken into consideration the needs of the OST providers. So I will not say definitively yes, 12, but what I can say is that we will take this year to learn from the new dosage requirements, and then based on the feedback we receive, as indicated in the letter, where we want to get community members, CBOs, to share with us their thoughts on the experience, then we can go back to the drawing board and say, okay, do we maintain it at 6? Do we increase it incrementally again with an additional 2, or keep it again at 6 so that CBOs can gradually get to the dosage that we aspire for them to get to? So that answer it depends on the experience and what we learn from FY24. We have any other commentary before we turn over to Commissioner Crump? I think that's the last person to provide commentary.
Okay, so I just wanted to start by saying thank you to Jackie and to Kendall for all of their work on our subcommittee, and also thank you to everybody else who commented today. We do hear you. Over the course of the last 90 days, our subcommittee has heard several policies or potential policy changes that could cause inequities or cause unintentional harm to grantees and the youth they serve. For example, we've heard the issues with the new program dosage requirements, the requiring of the evidence model for grants over 100,000, and we heard organizations say a lot about the extensive complexities of the new application. Our committee knows that we really need to use qualitative data, such as feedback from the OST community when drafting RFPs. The committee understands that Washington, D.C. is unique. Our programs are unique, meaning that when we provide these types of evidence-based practices that Learn 24 seeks, that DC is innovative and we have experimental grassroots nonprofits. So I just wanted to say, like, take NBSYP program, for instance. We were the first in the country to develop a program like that. And if the DC Council didn't allow Marion Barry to move forward with that program in 1979 because of the evidence didn't exist, then that wouldn't be what it is today. So DC is and always will be the model. Organizations like yours are the model. Our young people are unique. Our providers are experienced on what works. So our subcommittee knows that we should be taking that into consideration. I personally think that evidence-based practices, if that's important to us in a Learn 24 office, we can discuss ways, especially in subcommittee meetings, about ways to go about it differently. Maybe we can invest in our organization, study them, help them be a part of the research by independent evaluations or research study cohorts. I think that's dismantling structural racism. And I think there are many things we can do potentially, but I want to make sure that we're not devaluing or changing this community's program model without notice to a standard that may or may not apply to this community without community input. So I say all that to say that the Funding and Capacity Building Committee hears you. And hopefully, when we do our report out later on in this conversation, you'll be able to hear some of our recommendations that the Funding and Capacity Committee has recommended to Learn 24 to mitigate some of these challenges. So I just wanted to recognize what everybody was saying and say, we hear you. And hopefully we can all work together to improve this process.
Yeah, thank you very much for that commentary, Commissioner Crump. That's definitely excellent feedback. Definitely some eye-opening opinions, and thank you to everyone who provided public speaker commentary as well. Definitely a lot of troubling things going on, but it's good to hear them so we can try to work towards solving them. So thank you. So let's see. Unfortunately, we do have a lot to get through, so we do have to cut the conversation a little bit short, depending on how this goes. If we do have more things that really need to be addressed, we can double back on it. But again, thank you for providing your excellent commentary. We really appreciate it. Commissioner Crump, I particularly enjoyed what you just spoke on. So thank you again. So now that we've gotten through that, it's time to take roll call for the attendance. Let's see. Let me pull my form up. Okay, so once I call your name, just let me know if you're here. Then we can move forward. If you have any problems with your microphone, please let Alex know in the chat so that we can document you. Okay, so first, Commissioner Berkey.
I'm here. Good evening.
Thank you. Hey, good to hear from you. Commissioner Coates.
Present.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Crump, we just spoke.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Desir. Okay, looks like she's not here. Commissioner Henson. Okay, not seeing them in the chat. And Commissioner Hill, I know you spoke
Present.
as well. Thank you. I enjoyed your commentary as well. Thank you for good questions. Commissioner Jenkins. You're in the chat. Present. Commissioner Jardone. Okay, looks like she's absent. Commissioner Peeler. Okay, not seeing Commissioner Peeler. Commissioner Saffron.
Here.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Good to hear from you. Commissioner Siegel.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Taylor. And not seeing him. And Dr. Lowe is present. Okay. And this is an older form of the roll call, so if I am missing anyone, my apologies. It's not that I forgot about you. I'm just reading down the sheet. So please feel free to let me know if I made any mistakes. Once again, too, if I accidentally mispronounce anyone's name, please feel free to let me know. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in attendance. So we have made our quorum. Great. Okay. Great. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, if you can please review the agenda and once ready, make a motion to approve that agenda so we can move forward.
I move to approve the agenda. It's Commissioner Siegel.
Thank you, Commissioner Siegel. Appreciate you. Any seconds to that motion?
I second Commissioner Saffron.
Thank you, Commissioner Saffron. Okay, great. So first, Commissioner Berkey.
Approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Coates. Let's see. Commissioner Coates, any vote on the agenda?
Approved.
Thank you.
Can you hear
Commissioner
me?
Crump?
Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you. Commissioner Crump?
Approved.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill?
Approved.
Thank you, sir.
You're
Commissioner,
welcome.
thank you. Commissioner Jenkins?
I think I got it working. I approve.
Thank you very much. And I got your note, by the way, so appreciate you.
Thank you.
Sure. Commissioner Saffron?
Approved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Siegel?
Approve.
Thank you. Okay, great. So the agenda is unanimously approved. We can move forward. Okay. The next item will be the minutes. So commissioners, a draft version of the minutes from the May 25th meeting has been provided. Please take a look and let us know if there are any changes or revisions that need to be made to the minutes. If no changes, whenever you're ready, please motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Peacock, I found something in the summary of what I reported on the quality committee. This is Commissioner Berkey. I think what I said was that we had provided the feedback on the needs assessment that was due to Dr. Lowe, and that's what we had worked on in our meeting. And it reads differently in the notes.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So we'll get that changed.
Thank you.
No problem. Dr. Lowe, Alex, you guys got that?
Yes. Can you please, Shannon, can you please follow up with her to clarify what needs to be said? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you again for pointing that out. So looks like we need some revisions to the minutes. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to hold off on the vote to approve the minutes since there are revisions that need to be made. We can come back to that at another time once those have been fixed. All right. So for the next item on the agenda, Kevin, are you ready for the updates on the OST office?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chairperson
Thank
Peacock.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience as well.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Updates for the Institute for the Youth Development since our last meeting. Currently, the Institute has hosted, this is by the end of this month, which is almost here already. We've hosted 69 events, achieving 69% of our overall goal, and have served 477 unduplicated attendees, achieving 57%, excuse me, of the overall goal for fiscal 23. Happy to announce as well, we have received a lot of training requests, which is always a good thing to have. And completely maxed out for June and maxed out in August already. But I think that's wonderful to see so many grantees, but also other community providers that honestly have reached out for the first time and starting to learn about the offerings that we have. And so we're super happy to be able to serve them in our community regarding professional development opportunities. We're also ramping up the school year site visits this year. We definitely stretched in order to get as many school year site visits done as possible. And of course, we're turning right around. And next week, summer programming begins. And so then we'll be out and about and conducting our summer program site visits as well. In regards to our quality cohort, we just recently offered the quality coaching workshop. All except for one of our quality cohort attendees was able to attend, and that was a really nice thing to hear and see. And now they are currently working on their performance improvement plans, which are due at the end of this month. And then we'll loop back around for the next year and start working with them again to hopefully continue serving and continuing to provide quality across the district. Thanks so much for allowing me to do the update, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well. All right, don't hear any questions, so I believe I'm passing it over to my colleague Goroff for the update on the data perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate the excellent update.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to be happy to provide you a couple updates from the data team. So the first one is that the SAOY post surveys deadline was June 11th, and me and my colleague Olaide are currently working to put together score reports for dissemination to the organizations. We are waiting on a couple organizations that have some late submissions, but those will be ready to go out in the next couple weeks. And then the second big update following up on the last meeting is that the centralized RFA system that we've built out in CitySpan in collaboration with Shanna is up and it's been working successfully. We've received over 100 applications so far, and we're currently building out the scoring aspect of that in terms of sending it to grant reviewers, having those grant reviewers score it, and then also compiling that into data that can be easily digested by the grant managers in order to be used for allocation purposes. And so the cycle of the application will conclude soon, and then we'll be able to send those directly through CitySpan to reviewers to be scored. And that's the two updates I have tonight. I'll pause for any questions. All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to my colleague, Alex.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys for allowing me this opportunity. Just a big update or two updates, two major updates, one major update. After school in the city, we are in the process of planning that, working towards making sure that we have this date. We have the date set for September 9th. It is we are working hard to secure our location. We do have a potential location, but more information will be available once we do actually finalize and secure that location with with the walkthrough and everything of the sort. And so after school in the city is going to follow the same pattern that summer in the city followed, whereas though we allowing different nonprofit and community-based organizations the opportunity, as well as government agencies, the opportunity to help and to engage in dialogue with community family members, to let them know about the different offerings that are available throughout the school year during the after school period. And so just working to finalize all the final details before we do send out a major push. And so when we do send out a major push, we will see different communications as well as flyers and communication materials and strategies geared towards promoting the event and making sure the event goes off smoothly. And like I said, it is scheduled for September 9th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So please feel free to put that hold on your calendar. We look forward to seeing you guys there and seeing some of the different opportunities available, more opportunities available that are available during this school year within the city. And that's the communications wrap up. But if you guys have any questions, or if anybody has any questions, please feel free, and I'll definitely be able to or try to answer.
Alex, it's Commissioner Berkey. I had a question related to the Summer in the City event that was held in March. Just after 15 years of working in out of school time in DC, I found that there's a whole sector of families that approach the investigation of summer opportunities as it gets very close to the start of summer, rather than so early in the year. And so I recently referred a family to Learn 24 to find out more about which providers had attended that event and try to get connected to something. Is that a thing that you are able to do? I mean, hopefully the parent was able to reach a person who helped them out, maybe steered them towards some available summer opportunities. But I just don't know if that's something that the office is actually capable of.
Yeah. So just to make sure I got your question right, you're making sure you're wondering if we have a list of all the exhibitors and all the different organizations that's scheduled to attend Summer in the City.
Yeah, and if a parent calls me, on June 1st and says, I'm wondering what's available for summer programs, well, we all know that a lot of them filled up much earlier in the year. But at that point, is Learn 24 able to take a call from a parent and steer them towards something, or is it just a matter of them finding the right thing on your website? Like what's the community engagement capacity of Learn 24 to support parents after an event like that has taken place?
Yeah, so two parts. So we do have a list compiled of all the organizations that definitely attended or intended to attend the event. We do know it was a torrential downpour, and some organizations weren't able to attend just based off of different rationales. But we do have a listing of that. But then also, we at all points in times or especially myself, are always available to identify or try to identify some of the programs that are available. So I've had many of individuals that have come and just said, like, I have a child that is age 8 that is in X, Y, and Z ward. Are you able to help me find a program? And although it takes a little bit of legwork and trying to figure out exactly what programs are available, I do try to provide, or we try to provide them with the opportunities and an understanding of what programs are available, even if they aren't able to use the program finder. But like we said, the majority of our programs are listed on the program finder, and then with the new updates to CitySpan, even more of our programs would definitely be listed and found on the program finder. But at all points in times, they can definitely reach out to our office, and we should be able to assist with that.
That's great. And I see Dr. Lowe's note in the chat here that you're fielding calls as we are too. So yeah, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate your question, Commissioner Berkey. And if there are no additional questions for me, I will pass it to my colleagues. the grant team. Not exactly sure which grant member will step up. I think it's Shanna.
Yes, hello. Good evening, commissioners. It is so good to see you. And I have some great updates. As far as staffing, I am so happy to announce that we have hired a new grant management specialist who is here with us tonight, Dr. Howard Hope. And we are in the process of, we actually interviewed 4 very qualified candidates yesterday, and we'll be making recommendations as a team for final interviews to Dr. Lowe by the end of this week, like end of the day tomorrow, so that we can move forward with final interviews and finally have a full team of grant management specialists. So that's exciting. For 2023 school year grants, the grant period ends next Friday, June 30th. And so our team is in the process of, once again, reminding all of our grantees of their compliancy, current status, anything that we can support them to getting them. We, assess each of the grants at the end of the year for their level of risk. So we just want to make sure that everyone is low risk and able to move forward in the grant process. So we're reaching out to support them to close any loops there and also get their final payments processed with the deadline of having all payments done by July 30th for our school year grantees. And then, of course, we have started Summer Strong. As of June 1st, we have 99 grantees that are providing programming across the summer. And of that, 41 are those that applied for Summer Strong grants. We also have 58 year-round grantees that are providing summer programming for our youth across the district. And of the 41 new Summer Strong applications, 40 have been fully executed and initial payments are already in process. And then finally, our FY24 RFA is closing next Friday. And as of the time that we finalized this slide, it was 111 applicants. I looked right before getting on the meeting tonight and we're at 122. So we are right on par with previous years and the number of applications at the beginning of the year. And we have at least 20 new that I have not seen previously funded applicant organizations that have started the process of applying for funding for FY23. And so are there any questions? I'm sorry, I should say FY24. Great. So if there are no questions, then I will turn it over to my colleague. Next up is Miss Kimitha Payton.
Good evening, everyone. And I just want to provide a financial update to the commission on our spending for May and June. As you see, now we're just review the May expenditures. If you go to the next slide, you see that we have June now. We have had significant spending going down. Our spend rate is going down, and we have encouraged all of our grantees to invoice us. We've had the number of grantees requesting their first disbursement go up by, I want to say, 6 grantees. New grantees have invoiced us, and we're encouraging the remaining 7 to invoice us. We do have a deadline for invoicing, and we're also strongly encouraging everyone to send in their invoice to close out for the school year and the year-round grants that we have. So we have significant spending going down. We are moving quickly on our invoice payments going out and reducing that time. We have reduced that time to around about 3 weeks. So we're trying to get that turnaround time quicker than that. So I've been working diligently on that, and I will look to have this spend rate down to 0 to ensure that we still get adequate funding for FY24 and beyond. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Kim, but I'm not sure if this is a question for you in terms of like resource allocations. I know in previous years, a lot of a lot of the grant management was outsourced to United Way. So they had like a specific contract, and then Learn 24 had a budget for program office. And with all of the infrastructure changes or commitments that Learn 24 is making over the next 3 years, how does the resource allocation budget of grant awards compare to like Learn 24's infrastructure budget?
I'm not sure if I'm be able to answer that question right now, so I don't have the figures in
I
me.
know you can't answer it now, but is that like some type of data you can provide to us on that as well?
I would have to get back with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
If there are.
Yeah, I have a question, Commissioner Hill, Commissioner. So, great work you guys doing in terms of getting the funding allocations out of the door. So those grantees that haven't been funded or waiting on PO numbers, what's the expected time? And I don't understand what the issue is.
We only have one actual grantee that we are working with to get their funding issued. We have they have a special case that we're working on with OSI and also OCFO. The other group program grantees, we have reached out. They haven't submitted their invoices, and we have given deadlines. We have sent out notices to grantees who haven't invoiced us. And from that first notice, we've seen an influx of invoices come in. So we are keeping abreast of everyone who hasn't invoiced us. Not sure what the time frame or what the grantees are working on, but we are taking note of grantees who haven't invoiced us all year, and we're making strong push for everyone to invoice us, because we do have a deadline for invoicing, and that can affect funding. If you apply for the application next year for FY24, that can affect your funding if you're not invoicing us on time and timely. So that is one of the big pushes we have. Everybody wants money, but when it comes to invoicing, we have to get that in, because that's a big thing that the DC looks at when they go to give out money for FY25. Did we spend the money they gave us in FY23 and 24? So we have to make a push, and if we have to give out notices and I don't want to say give consequences for not spending. That's what has to happen, because we have to spend if we want more money or to stay at the rate that we have or getting money from the city.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mark is on one of the grant managers and absolutely our grant manager for our organization. We're going to send an email over, because I don't know who the one organization is, but we're concerned about Exodus as well. So it's waiting on the PO numbers.
Yes, I know we're working on yours. We're pushing for yours. We are pushing for your PO number for summer. So we don't think we forgot. We are pushing for it behind the scenes with our budget office and then also with OCFO to make sure that that funding gets pushed out. You're high on our priority list.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are any other questions, I will pass it to Dr. Lowe.
Thank you, Kimitha. Thank you, members of the OST team, for providing those great updates on the work that's coming out of the OST office. Two quick things. The last one I wanted to kind of sit a little bit more on, because there was a request to discuss it in greater detail during today's meeting. But number one, we have gotten the $5 million. Thank you to all those who have advocated for additional funding from the office. This is a big win for us, as many other agencies have gotten cuts, whereas the OST office has gotten an increase in funding for FY24. So thank you to all of the advocates, all of the supporters, all of the nonprofits that have stood in the gap for our office. We appreciate your advocacy for our office, because without you, we would not be in existence today. And so, as a result of the additional $5 million, we want to make sure that we are working in partnership with all of our stakeholders. We have about 30 right now committee members from After School DC working groups, inclusive of DC, OSI, parents, community members who are just interested, advocacy orgs, small nonprofits, large nonprofits, who are all all want to be a part of the guidance for the My After School DC initiative. And so we have working groups that have been established and have begun to meet to serve in an advisory capacity to the OST office's leadership team. Each group has reached their numerical cap. We had a lot of interest and we had to think diligently and strategically about who we want to make sure that we have representatives from across the spectrum. And so we have 29 total members across the different working groups for the My After School DC initiative, and they'll be meeting about weekly from here on out until we get this initiative rolling up and running up until hopefully before October 1, but they'll be meeting weekly from here on out to provide guidance for us in the office on what we should be doing for the My After School DC initiative. Commissioner Berkey, before I move to the next point, you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, are the groups meeting simultaneously weekly? Because some of the points of discussion in one group may be absolutely essential to influence the work of a different one. And if we're all working simultaneously, what's the mechanism for those kinds of determinations and adjustments to be made that would totally influence and maybe force another group to restart their thinking entirely? Like, how is this going to work?
Excellent question. So we do have, every group is meeting independently weekly. Then the OST office has a strategy team that meets bi-weekly. And at each bi-weekly meeting, they will be reporting out on what their specific working group has determined and or drawn a conclusion on, to keep all of us as a collective office abreast of the developments coming out of each working group. So yes, they meet weekly, each group independently. And in addition to that, we have a strategy team for the OST office that meets bi-weekly to ensure that we are kept abreast of the developments coming out of each working group and to help inform what we do and how we move forward, both as an office, but also with the individual working groups as well.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, we just may find ourselves going, having to like restart the process for a group as something changes in another group, but we'll get there. We'll do it. We're going to do it.
Dr. Lowe, I have a comment on that too. Is there opportunity for collaboration between the groups?
Can you speak more about what you envision?
So kind of what I believe Commissioner Berkey was saying, like an opportunity for instance, if these two groups might have a common thing they're both working on, is it an opportunity for both groups to meet and collaborate, like kind of like
Absolutely, absolutely, because I'll give you an example. Shanna's group, which is working on grant competitions in schools, will have to work in tandem with Kevin's group, which is working on quality. So if there's a need to share information with groups and or meet to make sure they're on the same page, that can absolutely happen. I will leave it to the discretion of the OST team leads for their respective groups.
May I make another request, just for the community's sake and for everyone who may or may not be participating in these meetings? Could we put into the notes or something of this meeting, just make it available to people to know what the subcommittee groups are what the different groups are working on? Because not everyone necessarily knows what they are.
So what we'll do is put an update slide on that for the next commission meeting, just so that we have that is all laid out. And I think it will be helpful, based on what I'm hearing, to have an update because we're now ramping up. So I think it's important to keep you all abreast of where we are. And for our OST updates for future meetings, we will have a slide and our information about where we are in the process and regarding each specific working group to keep everyone abreast.
I think that would be great, because this is a rather big initiative, and I think it'll be good for the whole commission to be, in tune with what's going on.
Thank you. Commissioner Siegel, was there a question? Your hand was raised.
Yes, question. Is there a role for the collaboration and coordination committee to play with these advisory groups? Is there a way that our committee can be helpful as this process moves along? I'm not looking for a lot more work. I'm hoping that there may be a way that we may be able to participate in a useful manner. And so that's why I'm asking, because I don't know enough about these working groups as to what their charters are and what they're trying to do and who's on them. So I guess I'm offering to be helpful if you think it would be useful to have participation from the Collaboration and Coordination Committee of the Commission.
I will say two things in response to that. One, yes, keep it short and simple. Because we're now ramping up, like I said, I will make sure that for our future meetings, we have a slide or slides to kind of keep you guys abreast of where we are, what the groups are doing, who's in the groups potentially, or at minimum, who they represent. If they don't necessarily put their names in the, well, I'll put who they represent, not necessarily their names. Alex, I will leave it to you and your group, Mark, to determine what makes the most sense regarding coordination and collaboration based on what we are finding is emerging from each specific working group.
Great, thank you.
Anything else before we move to our last point, but also equally as important? So we had a letter from the DC OST Coalition that you all received about a week or so ago, and you recently received within the past 5 hours or so, the OST office's position in response to the letter that was received. There was an indication of interest in discussing and or kind of having a conversation around the RFA updates for the OST office. And so I wanted to provide a space. I know we're short on time, and we could certainly discuss this again at our next meeting, but I wanted to open up the floor for anyone who wanted to share their thoughts, reflections, both in response to the DC OST Coalition letter and also to the OST office's response, which has been given us the green light by Deputy Mayor Kine. So with that said, we are open to hearing thoughts, reflections, but please note that we do have a limited amount of time. The floor is open for anyone who wants to share reflection on both the call and also the response to the letter, especially if you have read both in detail.
Dr. Lowe, this is Commissioner Siegel. Having just gotten the letter this afternoon, certainly have not read it very carefully. I'm hoping that perhaps there's a way we can have a group chat about it rather than all of us making comments off the top of our heads. And perhaps there's a way we can do that is the most helpful to you and is the most responsive to the coalition and to the office. And so perhaps a group chat rather than, as I said, all of us giving you off the top of the head comments now, because I'd like to actually sit down and read it more carefully. And I appreciate your getting it out today. So that's my idea of the best way for us to proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner Siegel. And yes, we wanted to be very careful and deliberate in our response, because everything our office does is ultimately to make sure that what we're doing is in the best interest of those that we are serving, as namely our children and families. So what we can do, if others need more time, and like I said before, we didn't want to just put a letter out there to respond quickly. We wanted to really take what was said into consideration, to marinate on it, and then have a thoughtful and deliberate response to what was shared with us. What we can do is, and Alex, this is for you. We could pull both letters, the DC OST Coalition letter and the OST office's response, and then provide an opportunity for the commissioners to reflect on it in a survey or document, however we do it online, and then collect those responses, share them back, and then have another thoughtful conversation around it. So I know you guys just got the letter and you will need time, but we didn't want to rush our response to what for us is our important partners in this work. So if this is okay with all of you, we can have both documents available for a comparative analysis or to kind of see where each stands, and then have you guys provide feedback in a form, and then compile those results or those thoughts and have a discussion on those as we move forward.
So I just have one question. I agree. And I just have one question as it relates to that immediately is what do we do when the national data, because I've seen a lot of data in the information that you shared, but what do we do if the data and or the research, national research, is in direct contrast to what program providers, people on the ground are telling Learn 24? Do we disregard the data or do we disregard feedback? Like, how do we find a medium? Because this is just my personal, and I still have to review the document in full too, but a lot of the responses to me were like data driven, not data driven, but like research driven. And if we have a large group of organizations saying that this does not work for our kids, like how do we find a medium that's going to work without disregarding the research that you put in, but also not making organizations feel like their voice and their value is heard and not disregarded as well?
Thank you, Commissioner Crump. I have two responses based on what I've just heard. Shanna, if you want, you can jump in after. One, we want to acknowledge that this was a quick turnaround. And some grantees, I would say the majority of our grantees have not had any of dissatisfaction with this update. The majority of our grantees have not. That does not negate the fact that some of our grantees do feel that it was quick and not necessarily in their best interest. And so we do apologize for that upfront. We all want what's best for kids. And so given your question, Commissioner Crump, where sometimes it may not necessarily feel as though that there is alignment. Again, FY24 for us is going to be a continuous improvement lens for the OST office because we want to do what's best for the kids that are that we are serving and the youth that we are serving. In instances where grantees may feel as though their experience is conversant to national norms or best practices, there is room, and we've included it in our communication for feedback to be provided again. We know that turnaround time was quick, and so we are allowing for, excuse me, a transition year for those who are most affected by this update to the RFA. Shani, anything to say? And it's okay if you don't.
No, I'm good. I would, although, just say that I think it's worth continuing to explore the distinction between what is an out-of-school time provider based upon what we understand from definitions that are nationally normed and supported by both other agencies within DC government as well, and what is an enrichment provider. I think that it's worth exploring potentially different competitions because these are really apples and oranges type of programming, and we're asking, square pegs to fit in circles. So that's all I would add.
Thank you, Shanna. I see Commissioner Berkey's hand is raised, so please go ahead. Or is that no? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. And I guess piggybacking on that last comment from Shanna, I think that so when the Learn 24 office, the OST office was established, the grant making function was outside of the office. And it's now come internally, right? And so it's resulted in a lot of changes of many different kinds, an expansion of a work stream and all of the associated things. And I think that there's a lot of adjustment that goes along with that. And I really appreciate the flexibility that you've extended in response to the community feedback, because I think that that's essential, right? But I think there has to be something in DC. Right now, Learn 24 is basically the only source of funding outside of the 21st Century Grant for after-school services and out-of-school time services. And so a lot of organizations that provide really important enrichment experiences for children in DC are the ones that I think are struggling to figure out how to fit into the terms of this grant. And it's a big change to move all the grant making toward OST programs that are more, that provide more substantial hours or days of programming and all of that, versus having an entity that had more flexible funding to support enrichment as well as OST work, right? And so we really have to grapple with that and explore the funding that is available for the enrichment purpose, because even within DCPS, we have been the beneficiary of a lot of these enrichment providers who have been able to fit very neatly into the program model that we provide at like 55 of the maybe 59 elementary schools and K-8 schools in the city. And the 2-hour block of time that's now required totally impinges on our model as well. And so we have to figure out, like, how do we now work with all these partner organizations whose obligations have changed, service obligations have changed? Do we have to restructure our model? Does the city also need to now invest in more time, more expenses on security services, you know, like security staff at schools, extending the program hours even more, you know, all of these things. So there's a ripple effect from this that is maybe a surprise, right? And I see the direction you're going in, but I think that it's crucial that when a huge change like this, sort of a revolution in the direction of grant making is about to happen, that there be some mechanism for like communicating and getting feedback before the actual change is made. So just upon reflection, I really appreciate the flexibility that you're extending. And I think we have a lot of lessons to kind of learn from this whole thing that's that we're working on right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Berkey. We appreciate you guys for giving us the feedback. I am a huge advocate of constructive criticism because we are always working on becoming better. And so we will be taking what you guys have shared with us in general and taking it back with us to the drawing board. So two things I will reflect, well, two things that will happen as a result for the OST updates is one, we will have a slide for American School DC moving forward for all of our OST commission meetings. So you guys are kept abreast of where we are. And then two, we will provide a space for commissioners to reflect on the ask and the response through a seamless document or an online survey, or for you guys to compile your thoughts and remunerations on the OST officer's position. And then we can have a conversation about you guys' thoughts in subsequent meetings as we move forward. Barring any other questions, I will turn it over to Chair Peacock regarding the strategic plan.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for the excellent updates. And yes, Commissioners, so this was the main reason we added the additional meeting. So once again, welcome back to the OST strategic plan. The draft OST strategic plan has been included in your meeting materials, so please take a look through them if you have not already. We are now at the juncture of where public commentary is ready to be solicited from June to September of 2023, with the final plan being brought to the Commission in September through November 23 for final approval. Again, this is not voting on the strategic plan. This is just voting to make the draft strategic plan public. So Commissioners, if you could please take a moment to review that, and whenever ready, if we can get a motion to approve the publication of the draft OST strategic plan, that'd be great. Thank you.
Chair Peacock, I see two hands raised.
Yes.
Commissioner Siegel?
Two things. One is I really appreciate the fact that extra time was given to review the plan. And I think the fact that the committees worked really hard and made a lot of very substantive changes has made this draft stronger. And since I thought we were voting to approve the plan, I am very comfortable voting to make the plan public for public comment. So I would like to move that we make the draft plan available for public comment, and that I'm assuming, Dr. Lowe, and I hope I'm right, that there will be public opportunity for perhaps in-person conversations as well as people writing in comments. Since we all have spent so much time on this in the past 6 weeks, I'm hoping that we give the public some really substantive time for them to meet with us and talk about it as well as move it forward. So I move that we make this draft of the plan public for public comment to reviewed for the commission to review again in September. Did I miss anything there? Did I get it all?
That sounds about right to me, Dr. Lowe.
Yes, I want to respond. Yes, there is going to be, we have someone in the Great DME team who's going to be doing surveys, focus group with families on the ground to get their feedback on the plan. And she's actually working right now on making the survey language as user-friendly as possible to get some really critical feedback over the next 3 months. Tashawn, is that a seconding or is that a question that is being had with your hand raised? Commissioner Crump.
Sorry, it was a question. So just to clarify, in future meetings, we're going to have dedicated time to still discuss the strategic plan and to hear, we will be able to hear from providers on their feedback, or will we just get like a recap, or will there be a meet and invite in?
So
public comment?
So typically the commission takes a break over the summer because typically we do not meet quorum. So our next scheduled meeting is September. Prior to then, so over the course of the summer, there will be public engagement with the plan by way of on-the-ground community engagement, compilation of feedback online, service and focus group with families with our community engagement specialist for the Greater DME. Once the feedback is received, we will compile it and add it to the plan. Ideally, it will be presented to the commission in September to review, but you will have it before then to review it with ample time. If September doesn't happen, I am 100% okay with giving you more time up until our next meeting, which is November, for final approval of the strategic plan. So there will be opportunities for public engagement over the course of the summer, and we are being intentionally engaged with community members, families, our youth, etc. And then in September, if all goes according to plan, the final version will be available to you to review and approve, or if you need more time, if it happens, it happens, then we can push it to November for final approval if need be. But right now, our target is September to provide spaces for the community members to provide the feedback on the plan. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yes, but is there an opportunity for us, I guess, in our next commission meeting to have dedicated time, a dedicated space to discuss the strategic plan?
We can do that, but there will be implications. So our next meeting is in September. If that does happen, the approval of the plan would have to be pushed back to November, which is fine if that's what you all want. But just know that if we do have that additional public engagement with the commissioners, the plan's final approval will be pushed back to November, which is our next meeting after September. So Chair Peacock, I know we had a motion to make it public.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dr. Lowe, I had another question though. You invited the commissioners to submit comments on the plan to get them to you, I think by June 16th. Could you just say a little bit about, I know that I submitted comments and I have quite a few questions, and there's some content in the plan that we as a commission have not had an opportunity to discuss, which is actually, some of it was even contradictory to commission decisions of the past. So I wondered, like, how much feedback did you get? How will that be shared out with us as commissioners toward the objective of what Commissioner Crump is speaking about in terms of having an actual discussion where we kind of go over different aspects of the plan and maybe chew on them, because we've had a lot of changes in commissioners. I just don't know if the people who comprise the commission today have the same ideas about certain aspects of it as those that have been held in the past. So, I mean, as a commission in the past, we've even voted on some things that, that seem to be contradicted in the current strategic plan.
Can you give an example? Because
Yeah,
the reason why I'm asking is because the lead for the OST office team for each committee, etc., whatever they included in the plan has been included in the plan, which has been shared with you all. So can you please give an example where where it seems to be contradictory?
Right. So, I mean, I've been chairing the quality committee for a few years now. And for example, there's reference in the strategic plan to a licensure process and a kind of a quality determination thing. And I'm afraid that what this means is that Learn 24 is going to be moving in the direction of like the type of thing that OSSI had done with the star ratings for schools and that sort of thing. And licensure is like a very big word. It has real substance to it. Whereas in the past, the commission has felt that we did not want to go in that direction with ranking organizations and assigning them scoring of any kind, that the quality effort of Learn 24 has been a continuous improvement approach for organizations working to really to use these national systems for quality assessment, and then to work with organizations on the skill areas where their engagement with youth and the delivery of their program had an opportunity for improvement. And so what I saw in the strategic plan was really an entire, major shift away from the current approach to quality assessment, of your office. And we've never had a chance to really debate that change of direction as a commission. So if this draft were to go out to the public, for example, they may think that we're about to establish a licensure process when as a commission, we've never had a conversation about that. Even the quality committee did not have the opportunity to really meet about that. It was something that sort of came as a surprise. It wasn't part of the meetings that we've been holding up to now.
Can you remind me of which do you remember which category it came from? I know it was quality.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it. I mean, I also felt, I provided quite a lot of substantive edits. Like some of it was just technical edits in terms of, maybe a typo here or there, and some of it was really content related. I was seeing this licensure issue on slides 23, 24, 25. It says 6.6.1, create a quality assurance and licensing team. And so that's really where as chair of the quality committee, I was just like taken aback. Where did this come from? This is not what we do.
What I will say, Commissioner Berkey, is that then is an opportunity for commentary to be had, whether it is coming from you as a commission member or, quite frankly, a member of the public. If there's a feeling as though some of the strategies are disjointed, then we want to know. That's a part of the process, right? It's calling things out as needed and updating it as needed as well. Again, if this has to be extended because of the need to get additional commentary, not ideal, but okay, because we want to do it well and do it right. So again, for where there may be instances of feeling as though it might be a little bit disjointed, we have the next 3 months or so to make those next specific updates. Commissioner Crump, yes?
So I'm sorry, this is kind of in alignment with Commissioner Berkey is saying, and I guess I was going to talk about this in our report out, but I kind of feel like our subcommittee's recommendations they're in the strategic plan technically, but it feels like they're an addendum because when you look at the strategies throughout the plan, our recommendations, which are like page 28, 29, and 30 or whatever, I don't see specifically for funding and capacity building how our recommendations are implemented throughout those 1 through 6 strategies that Learn 24 details like what they're going to do. And I guess that's my concern and that's where I want discussion. So I want the public to be able to view this, yes, yes, yes. But I also, in your response, it kind of feels like I feel like we need to have like a meeting, just going like through like this. I feel like the strategic plan itself would take 2 hours just for us to discuss the strategic plan and how those tactics, goals, strategies that are in page 1 through 24, how do we make sure that the committee's recommendations that are page like 26, 27, 28 are integrated into those strategies, because I don't see that currently.
So there's a dual approach to the strategies. One, we want to get community feedback on the strategies, because when we implement, they're the ones who are going to be feeling the effect of the implementation. So that's one aspect of the strategies, is getting the input from those who will be directly affected and who will directly feel what the strategy implementation looks and or feels like. In addition to that, not converse, in addition to that, it is also helpful to have OST providers, commissioners, etc., comment on the strategies. And so I need to, before those, I'm seeing a lot of commissioners having to go. We need to either make it available for public commentary or extend this process to September and or November, which will prolong the strategy being finalized. There was one motion to make it open to public commentary, which is to anyone. Is that motion seconded or is it not? And if that is not, there will be implications for us as we move forward. It will likely go into 2025 for the finalization of the plan. If that is what you want, then by all means, but just know that that is where we are right now.
This is Commissioner Siegel. I just put a note in the chat. I have another meeting that I'm supposed to be at. I'm already late for. It sounds that there is enough substantive concern and conversation that we need to have. And I know it's summer, however, and so I think I want to withdraw my motion and suggest that we schedule a 1-hour meeting where we all take a little time, review the strategic plan, and just have that this be our only agenda item, and that after that meeting, we then make the strategic plan public, because I'm hearing enough concern about where we are that I'm not sure we're actually comfortable enough to send it out. So as I said, apologies again for leaving. This is a really substantive conversation. I'm sorry we've begun it so late in the meeting and that several of us have to leave. So may I suggest that we try to, and I know scheduling's a bear, to have an hour that we all sit down and talk together.
Thank you. Chair
Commissioner Siegel, can I make one suggestion?
Of
Can we
course.
approve this, but then schedule a meeting before September to go over the strategic plan and invite people to come and comment their comments on the strategic plan? So that way, any changes that need to be made by September, they have already been changed. Like, because I think it's important for it to go out to the public, but I think we need to have a meeting before September to discuss and make any changes and really look at this to make those changes.
So I'm not withdrawing my motion. Commissioner Crump, will you second my motion? And that way we can vote to make it public with the understanding that 2 things are going to happen. One is that we're going to have a lot more public process. And 2, the commission members are going to have some time for us to really review substantively before September. And then of September, we will try and wrap it up so that we've made that progress. Commissioner Crump, you comfortable with that? And Dr.
Yes,
Lowe,
as long
have I
as we have a
overstated?
meeting before September, that's just on the strategic plan.
Absolutely. That's what I want, is a meeting just on the strategic plan. Dr. Lowe, you okay with this reframe?
That's fine, Shana. Please take note because I will need to remember. Please. Any objection? Well, Chair Pika, I'll leave it to you to finalize that.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good to me. Dr. Lowe, as we discussed yesterday, I knew the strategic plan was going to be a long agenda item. So I think it makes sense.
So
Commissioners,
I
thank
am
you.
willing, I've made the
Mhm.
motion. I vote aye, and I apologize, but as I said, I'm supposed to have been somewhere at 7:30. So
Yeah,
thank you all. I will be in touch soon. Thank you.
Sorry
Good
for
night.
keeping you, and thank you for your flexibility.
And so record me as voting to make it public with all of the caveats.
Thank you. Gotcha. Will
Thanks.
do.
Good night.
Thank you again.
And who seconded? Just to confirm on the record.
Commissioner Crump.
Thank you,
Mhm.
guys.
Okay.
We apologize. It's a long meeting. We apologize for that.
Yeah. Let's see. What was this message? We will need to submit a NLFA meeting notice at a time via DC registry. So we'll need to determine. Yep. Got it.
We'll do the logistics, Shana. Thank you.
Yeah, that will be handled. Okay, great, Commissioner. So we are now voting on, again, to clarify, we're not approving the strategic plan. We're voting to either approve or deny the publication of the draft strategic plan. So basically just to release it to the public so that the public can review it with us and offer any feedback, and then we can continue to review it as a, iterative living document and try to come up with a final plan for the new fiscal year. So again, we have the most
and have a meeting specifically focused on a 1 hour meeting minimum.
Yep. There we go. So have an additional meeting to discuss that. Okay, so the motion was made by Commissioner Siegel and seconded by Commissioner Crump. Thank you for the motion. So we're going to do another roll call vote. I understand that the strategic plan is a document we spent a long time on, so feel free to vote with your honest opinion. We won't have any hard feelings either way. I understand that this is a serious thing to everyone. So to start off, Commissioner Berkey.
I appreciate the fact that we're going to have a real opportunity to talk about it. And so, yes, I think it's okay. I approve having it go out to the public.
Thank you. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much for that. And I know you had a lot of wordsmithing to do the first round on the strategic plan, so I definitely value your genuine insight on that. I'm so looking forward to that meeting. Commissioner Coates.
This is Commissioner Coates, and I approve.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Crump.
I also approve on the condition that we're having another meeting to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hill.
Yeah, I approve as well. It's been quite a bit of work already done, but realistically, we haven't got there yet. So I approve as well.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jenkins. I think she might have had to leave by now. No, she said she had to leave early. So we'll vote abstain. Okay. Commissioner Saffron.
I approve.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this vote unanimously approves with the abstention of Commissioner Jenkins because she had to leave early. Okay, great. So we're going to get back to you, commissioners, with the logistics on that next meeting. Dr. Lowe and I will coordinate and figure out when the best time is for that and get that on everyone's calendars. Thank you again for being flexible with us with the strategic plan. I know it's a very serious thing to all of us. We just want to get this out so that the public can look at it so that, if we can get it approved by the fiscal year, that would be great. But again, understand this is a very serious matter. Okay. And let's see. Dr. Lowe, I think it's back to you for the next slide.
Thank you, Chair Peacock. So really quickly, we're going to work on commission updates. Please keep it brief, but I just want to underscore the need for a co-chair with Chair Peacock. If there are any current commissioners that are interested in serving in this capacity, you can self-nominate or nominate someone that is a current commissioner. You can send your communications to me to indicate an interest or to nominate someone. We have received 3 applications for the commission, and we're waiting Moda's approval for them based on extensive background checks to be a part of the commission. If you would like to apply to be part of to be a co-chair, please let me know. And we will approve new committee members on a quarterly basis. I will now pass it over to committees for their respective updates, starting with, and I'll put the link in the chat if you have someone who wants to apply to be a part of the commission. But I'll pass it right now to coordination and collaboration for their updates to the commission. Who want coordination and collaboration is providing an update.
I think that would have been Commissioner Siegel, but since she stepped away, we probably have to forego her update.
Thank you for that. The next, unless anyone on the committee wants to share out, if not, we can move on to the next committee.
Commissioner Saffron, would you like to make any statements?
She left. I think Commissioner Saffron, Dr. Saffron left. Okay, next slide. Funding and capacity building.
So funding and capacity building has a lot of updates. So I would start by saying I know a lot of the times like our updates are at the end and I feel like we're rushed sometimes and we're not able to get the information out because our meetings go over. I'm going to try to make this as short as I can and just send out the email with all the updates that we actually have. But the Funding and Capacity Building Committee has worked really hard to complete the strategic plan, and we're recommending that the commission prioritize supporting organizations through targeted capacity building supports and prioritize equity in the distribution of funds. I know we've heard from organizations today who are on the ground and that there have been many changes on Learn 24, and the commission moving forward is our committee is urging Learn 24 to review and consider how to embed the funding and capacity building recommendations into Learn 24's overall strategy, strategic, and goals. As I said, I do not see that they're absolutely in alignment. We're asking that Learn 24 support nonprofits through ongoing capacity building grants and design and launch targeted support starting in FY24 through 2024 for small nonprofits to obtain additional funding. Right now, I only see this recommendation on our page, which is 28, and I don't see the strategy or goal like on page 4 where it lists the key initiatives. There's no mention of capacity building supports or intentions of an RFA. As I also stated earlier, page 20 strategy focuses on strengthening the OST office with the goal of eventually 18 full-time employees, but where's the focus on strengthening organizational capacity who provide crucial services to our young people? We have heard from providers and Dr. Lowe that we're putting more burdens on OST providers now more than ever, and this plan should include a thoughtful strategy to build organization capacity. The Funding and Capacity Building Committee is asking for a commitment from Learn 24 in this regard. We are also asking Learn 24 to utilize its resources, meaning leveraging qualitative data such as OST provider feedback when building out additional capacity building opportunities. We are also asking Learn 24 to utilize its resources and networks to create and promote community-focused results as opposed to only quantitative data outcomes, and like ensuring the RFS process is released by April, giving OST providers at least 8 weeks between the RFA and the due date, and then also using OST provider feedback and expertise when structuring and making changes. We're asking that OST have at least a 30-day public comment period before making any major changes to upcoming RFAs like program dosage, limiting coordinated entity sites, or research-based approach. Because the initial feedback from providers is that they need more time, especially with the changes that have been made. We're asking for Learn 24 to focus on supporting its CBOs, preserving and expanding funding by earmarking 90% of the reoccurring OST RFA funds for community-based organizations and small nonprofits, and to commit to 75% of newly acquired funds, such as the My School DC initiative, being earmarked for direct funding to community-based organizations. Finally, we are asking Learn24 to focus on equity by prioritizing allocations and priority points for organizations with not only high quality programs, but also authentic ties to the community, to support the equitable distribution of funds, and to invest 50% of the DC income tax contributions that Learn24 receives into an equity initiative or grant that reduces the barrier structure of racism and grant making for OST grantees. Finally, I do have a few concerns I would like to discuss. So I was recently informed by Learn24 that the subcommittee meetings are restricted to official committee members and that the public is no longer allowed to attend subcommittee members. This policy is in direct content with the subcommittee application, which states applicants are invited to attend any subcommittee meetings until formally approved. Attendance before demonstrates commitment and availability to the committee. The application also states that members may miss no more than 2 meetings in a row. And as you guys know, the Funding and Capacity Building Committee meets very regularly, usually monthly, and relies on public feedback. Some of our attendees are providers and cannot commit to being official members because of our rigorous schedule. And therefore, their feedback and drop in attendance has been extremely helpful in the past. This new policy will remove their ability to participate and limit our ability to gain valuable insight. I thought part of our goal when establishing these subcommittees was to engage with the committee, to engage with the public. So I highly recommend that this commission reconsider this policy. There are a few more points that I had to make, but for the sake of time, I will just email this out and ask that the committee, our subcommittee's recommendation and a larger OST community's input be integrated into Learn24's plans, tactics, and strategies, and theories of action throughout the strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you for that thoughtful update. I would agree with you on that about the subcommittees. I definitely remember us recommending new members to attend first. So thanks for calling that out.
Is there a comment from Dr. Lowe about that change?
No, I don't have a comment right now. I don't have a comment right now. What I will ask is that whatever you want to share to Commissioner Crump, please send it via email so we can review. And please also be mindful that, please also be mindful that the majority of the OST team office is new within the past year. So there may have been a gap in knowledge and or knowledge capture for the office. So whatever documentation you can provide would be helpful context for us as an office.
So one, the updates of the committee, for clarification, you want me to share the updates of the committee work with you? And then my second clarification is I emailed several times with the commissioners, with Commissioner Hill and Dr. Siegel for clarification on this. I also emailed my response, and the same exact response that I just said, I emailed that information to you guys, both you and so I mean, I guess I'm just asking for clarification because I feel like that I did do that, and it sounded like you're saying I didn't do that.
You sent me one email as far as I can remember.
And specifically in regards to the subcommittee, I sent a long email justifying why I felt that public members should be able to attend subcommittee members and that we should not restrict that. I can email again. I just wanted for clarifications. I think that I am communicating, and I think that I am providing as much information to Learn24 because I do know it's a transition. I just don't want it to seem like this is something I'm just saying right now. Like I feel like I have been communicating these points.
Again, there may have been a lapse in knowledge capture with the transitions regarding what the policies are. So I can either revert back, go back to look for the email, which is fine, I can do that, or you can resend it to put it at the top of my email so we can make sure we're on the same page, both as an office and as a commission.
Will do.
Thank you, Commissioner Crump. I would definitely appreciate you. So yeah, we'll work to get that resolved. In the meantime, can we get the funding and capacity building update?
That just happened.
Oh, sorry.
Chair Peacock, the next slide, Alex.
Yeah.
The
Claudia.
quality committee will have to schedule another meeting prior to whatever meeting is scheduled for the commission so that we can review the strategic plan more fully as a group, because we haven't had time to do that, you know, from the time it was released, and getting feedback to you as individuals. And then we need to have another meeting to kind of go over everything. And we'll do that in July.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have the outcomes and needs assessment update.
I can share that. We are hoping to have we are excited to hear public commentary when we do make it available to the public, and to engage with the community members on the plan. We continue to meet every month, and so just looking forward to engaging with community members and landing on what they deem as priority regarding strategies coming out of the OST office. I'll leave it as that for now and hand it over to the next committee, if there's one. But we were the last. Sorry.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for the update. Sounds good. Now, commissioners, this will be revised since we are going to make an amendment to include another meeting to discuss the draft strategic plan more in depth. But until we release that meeting date and get it scheduled, currently our next official meeting on the books is September 28th. These meetings should be in everyone's calendar. Now, if you have any updates or feedback on these meetings or unavailability, please let us know via email. Or if they're not on your calendar, please let us know via email so that we can send you the invites. After the 28th, our following meeting will be November 16th. And other than that, again, all these meetings will remain virtual unless otherwise preferred. I know one of the commissioners had previously mentioned wanting to have an in-person meeting potentially to discuss the strategic plan. So if you do feel strongly about that, just let us know and we can coordinate. But otherwise, as recommended, all the commission meetings will remain virtual over Teams. Other than that, before we adjourn, commissioners, are there any additional comments or business that needs to be discussed or questions?
Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
Please, please, please. I know some people are not here now. We would like to start on time. I'll just leave it as that.
Yep, definitely. Especially with the strategic plan, because I know there's going to be a lot of feedback in that meeting. So that'll be one. Hopefully we can start as on time as possible so we can get everyone out where they need to be. But other than that, any other questions, comments, concerns, commissioners?
Are we allowed to have a meeting of the commission for this kind of new extraordinary meeting that we're talking about for the strategic plan? Are we allowed to have a meeting that is really just a strictly focused on that? Or do we need to allow for things that we typically do on the agenda, reviewing minutes and inviting public comment and all that? Could we just, I mean, is there a way to set it up with a slightly different structure so we get the full benefit of the entire meeting for discussion?
We do have special meetings, from what I understand in the past. So I would say it's allowable from what I understand, but we can double check that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a great call out. Given that we did have this extra meeting, I would recommend that we spend that entire meeting focused on the strategic plan so we can get in and out, because I have a feeling that document's going to take a while for us to get through. Just knowing our previous sessions on it.
For those who were part of the commission a few years ago, I mean, I remember how much we spent, how many meetings we focused on the exact wording of the quality definition, for example, before we passed and approved that. Like, we went through so many revisions as a commission, this word, that word, even where the commas go. So I know that we've done really substantive work on some things in the past, and hopefully we'll have a chance to really dig into the content.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Thank you for the commentary. Commissioners, anything else on that note? Okay, great. Well, that's all. Commissioners, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Hill, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Commissioner Hill. Thank you. Any seconds to that motion?
Tashana, Commissioner Crump, I second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Crump. Definitely appreciate you. And just to follow up with your comment earlier, I do apologize if I missed your email regarding the subcommittee meetings. I'll definitely take a look through my inbox for that. But I'm glad you did
No,
call
I
that
didn't
out.
send it to you. I sent it to Commissioner Siegel and
Okay.
Commissioner Siegel and Commissioner Hill is copied on it because
Okay.
they're part of our subcommittee. But I'll forward it.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to take a deeper look into that because I also feel that the public should be welcome at those meetings. But we can discuss that more in depth. All right. Thank you for seconding the motion. Commissioners, I know we're far over time and everyone has busy schedules and places to go. So instead of doing the roll call vote, I'm just going to ask, are there any commissioners that oppose the motion to adjourn? Okay, great. Well, this motion unanimously passes. Thank you again for your time and being patient with us. This meeting is adjourned at 8:07 p.m. Commissioners, we will be in touch with you regarding the next meeting to discuss the strategic plan. I'm looking forward to some excellent feedback because as Commissioner Berkey had mentioned, we did spend a lot of time on that strategic plan. And I know we've done a lot of great work over the past few years as these committees have been implemented and there's been some changes, not only in the commission, but in the city and in the world in general. I mean, heck, we're all virtual now. There's a lot of just different things going on. So, looking forward to seeing some wonderful updates on that. And I will all be in touch with you soon. Thank you again. Take care. Enjoy your nights and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.